You're watching Morning at NTV.
Good morning. Welcome back to Morning at NTV. My name is Malaki Vilodera. Now today we'll be talking about South Sudan. Yesterday they celebrated the Peace Day celebrations, and so a great milestone right there. And so to talk about that and much more is Mr. David Amor, the spokesperson of the Republic of South Sudan. Welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Congratulations to all of us. Congratulations to everybody.
Yes. What does that mean? What did that mean for South Sudan's?
Well, it means a lot. A country that was almost shining and got broken within a few time after the independence. And now it means that the country is getting back to herself through the political settlement, and it will mean a lot also that everything will come to normality, because as you can define peace as the absence of misunderstanding.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And are we likely to see movements of South Sudan refugees from Uganda back to home?
Definitely. You see, as the saying goes, from east to west or the south to north, home is the best. So when there is peace, everybody will have to return back to go and rebuild the country. The country is built by people, you see. So if you have something to do in South Sudan, as a citizen of South Sudan, and peace has come, then you have to come back home to rebuild your life as a person, and then as a citizen and as a country. Yes.
And have you been seeing some of them already moving back, especially after there was that particular reconciliation between Salva Kiir and Riek Machar?
The process of healing is not something that you can just go through it overnight. Like yesterday, there was a celebration all over the world. You know, our friends, ourselves have to go through the healing process and the reconciliation. And because I have not seen anybody yet, but they are willing to go back home. They love their country. I did not mean that. I did not mean that there was a political misunderstanding. But otherwise, people of South Sudan love their country.
When you interact with them, what are the messages that you're getting? Real messages that they give you?
The real message is of course, they are very happy to rejoin their fellows, because it is not everybody that ran away from that place. There are people also who are left at home, and as a families, you know, they would wish that as sooner the later this peace agreement hold, everybody will celebrate and live in the country once and for all.
We had our president, His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, attending these particular celebrations yesterday in Juba, and he said that you know, this particular war actually costed Uganda $500 million US. So in terms of that and how bad that war can be, do we say that the leaders are actually learning a lesson, especially them that cost us to get to this point? You know, of course, Mr. Salva Kiir not being at peace with his counterpart, Mr. Riek Machar. Are they learning from this? And are we likely to go back to where we're coming from?
You see, everybody has learned out of this war. And this is why you could see even the people of Africa and the whole world, those who love South Sudan like Uganda, now lamenting that they have lost money and they have lost a lot of properties, you know, because majority of the people in East Africa here were doing businesses in South Sudan. And everybody has learned out of it, because the good part of it is that this peace agreement this time around was made by the people. The regional leaders are involved. You can say, like, you have seen the celebration, people from, you know, the whole of East Africa, okay, or other bodies, you know, like the international community at large. Everybody has learned out of it. So it will be built from there. And I hope everybody will get a place to sit.
Okay.
Since these leaders, the war was all about who takes what in terms of power. And I think that is something simple, because the war was not about, like it used to be speculated, you know, by various media houses, that it was about ethnic rivalries and all this. No, it is not.
Yeah.
Because in Africa here, the commonality of the people of Africa is always from a different tribe to the other tribe. But their commonality, what brings them together all the time, is a love and the patriotism of what a citizen can have out of his country. So everybody will learn and will have to respect that peace agreement based on the hardship that people went through.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Right. And when you talk about leadership, we actually saw a very unique, you know, proposal, and I don't know, you let me know if this was actually implemented, where we had, you know, the cabinet having representatives from all spheres, just to ensure that every sphere in South Sudan feels represented and feels like they have some sort of power. Has that been put to action?
You see, the peace agreement itself talks a lot about how the representation of the people must be met, so that everybody take the responsibility. This time around, it should not be the leaders as per se, Dr. Riek Machar or Salva Kiir. It is everybody homework this time around to show his or her responsibility on how the country should prosper and move on in peace. Because this representation will also bring in the elements of talking to the nearest people. So the element of power devolution will be there. So there will be no any vacuum left, being it even at the villages, you know. And yeah, everything will work on.
So that will be implemented?
It will.
Okay, all right. Let's talk about trade. South Sudan is, I mean, a rich country, especially when it comes to oil exploration. Here in Uganda, we just realized we have oil, and, you know, Europeans are now grappling to see who will, you know, get these opportunities to help us, you know, get this oil. So with regards to getting back on track, the other time we hosted you, you told us that in a month's time from, of course, this was a few months ago, that South Sudan will get back to oil exploration and getting back to its economic, you know, strongholds. So has that actually taken course, or it's still
no, it
a
is
discussion?
Flowing.
Okay.
It is flowing. Yeah, the oil is flowing, and thank God that the prices from OPEC producing oil, I mean oil producing states, the prices are a little bit okay now. Yeah, from $70 to $81. So the oil is flowing, and the cash is also flowing back.
Right.
To the people, yeah.
To the people.
To the people.
Because that's another conversation, and people were asking, if South Sudan is this rich and they have this oil, then why do we only see pictures of abject poverty, you know, in its people? Why is in this particular richness trickling down to the common person down there?
Yeah, because, you know, the richness reaching the common people down there, there must be an institutionalized, you know, a way of bringing what the people want when there is no war. So you cannot take water into the villages when there is war. You cannot have to plant or to farm when there is war. So all this richness will come, but first of all, there must be peace.
But I think there is peace so far.
Yeah, so far now, when the peace comes, the richness will prevail. Everybody will see. South Sudan, you remember during, before this war, after the independence from 2011, everything was flowing. You know, everybody has got his or her pounds or dollar or, you know, but what has ruined it is about this war.
Is about the war.
About the war.
But what's the strategy of government to ensure that the common person down there benefits from this richness?
There are so many ways. There are so many ways of doing this. One is the devolution of power, which is now taking people, taking power to the people. It is not unlike any other style when you see in some other countries. And before we have learned, even when we came out from Sudan, and I could quote the quotation of our late the founder of South Sudan, Dr. John Garang, who used to say, you should not take people to towns, but you take power to the people in their villages. So these are the ways that are going to be developed so that we get the people not to town, but we take power to them in wherever they might be, in their respective villages, in their respective counties, in their respective districts. And this is the mechanism that is being met to bring whatever services to the people.
Okay, just bringing the power to the people.
To the people. Power comes with a lot of economics gain. You know, when you talk of power, you have one county or you have a constituency.
Right.
Then you have to, if it is a matter of bringing water, you have to bring water. If it is a matter of education, you have to bring education. This health, you have to bring in the health care, medications, and so forth. So this is what we meant by taking power to the people.
Okay, and let's talk about sophisticated crime in South Sudan, especially in Africa when we have conversations to do with, you know, money laundering. South Sudan is somewhere there, actually appears in that particular list. So how is government, you know, planning to tackle that issue, especially now that in the stories that we've seen before time, is that top government officials, them that are rich in South Sudan, are the people who are culpable of this particular crime. So how will that be sorted out?
Well, so far you will see everything being sorted out by putting the law, the rule of law. Because if you stole money from the government or the estate, then you must be counted responsible for that. Unlike the other time, I saw a gentleman of whom I know very well saying that he was given money by Jesus Christ.
Tell us about that.
Yeah,
Tell us about that.
No, there is nothing like that. Because even Jesus died as a carpenter. Where the hell should he have to send somebody money? This is just a corrupt person. It has nothing to do with the blessing of God.
Did you go a step further to actually investigate his source of wealth?
His source of wealth, as he mentioned, that is blessed. So,
but clearly that is not from God.
Well, to me, I don't think that is blessed, because when Jesus died, when he was a carpenter, he did not have money in the Bible.
So is the government actually and the leadership of South Sudan deliberate about looking into such people and sources of wealth?
Yes, definitely. Definitely. Everybody must be brought to an account, and the source of your wealth has to be known. And you remember, even before this war was caused when President Salva Kiir himself wrote a letter to the East African leaders and the rest of the world that should any one of my people or from my country happen to have bank any money that is sourced from South Sudan, this money must be junk and returned back to South Sudan. And that was why he wrote the 75 names of those officials, you see. And by doing that, it was now the cause of the war. Because catching a thief in East Africa here is not just like catching a rat.
Right.
Yeah, it is hard. Getting someone who has stolen money you have to be strong in a term of, manpower.
Right.
Yeah, or you have to collaborate with the other regional countries also to help you to sanction this individual who have stolen some money and return it back to the state.
But if that alone actually caused a lot of trouble, and just him writing a letter and saying that, you know what, accounts of these people have to be frozen, and they have to stand up and say, where did they get all this money? If that alone brought up issues, this time round, how will that be sorted? Because them that continue to steal then deprive the common South Sudanese from getting basic needs.
The case doesn't get old in the court.
So it will still be followed up?
Yeah, it will still be followed up, because by the time the country was ready to bring them to books and also to show exactly where did they get this money from. But unfortunately, majority of them became rebels immediately. Some of them became, renegades, trying to sabotage the rule of law, and that was part of the problem.
Wow.
That was part of what brought in the war.
Because and these are questions that I'm getting on social media, and someone says that this South Sudan who actually, even Sudanese who come to live in other countries, they don't hide that they're rich. They live large and live big. And most of them actually have accounts overseas in other countries just to, bank this particular money that they've been stolen. So with regards to addressing that, someone would say that isn't it easy to just pinpoint and know that this person is living something that really their day-to-day works that does not, get them that?
No, it is not everybody that lives outside South Sudan who is a thief. There are few individuals who have got their wealth.
They live large.
Yeah, and they live large because most, if not some, have their businesses which are genuine, and they deserve to live the way they would want to. And those who are not genuine, these are the people who will be brought to books.
Okay.
Yeah, it is just like that.
So it is still.
Yeah, because in a country, there's no country that does not have a millionaire.
True.
Yeah.
So true, so true. Okay, so what should we be expecting in the coming days with regards to this peace that is trying to prevail in South Sudan?
In the coming days, of course, after the ceremony, Dr. Riek Machar will go now and try to organize his followers so that those soldiers are cantoned in a cantonment, and they are to go through a process of, some of them are going to be retrained together with the army, the national army, so that it brings in the composition of the army to remain neutral, not to side with any given leader. Those who will not be eligible to go back for retraining, they are going to be disarmed and put into some other government institutions that they should also have to earn something for their living, rather than just being a soldier all the time and you have to say, if I'm not given this, and I should have to kill people.
Right.
So in the coming process, the committee was formed, comprising of all the political parties, and this committee will look into it, that everything that was signed is implemented. And probably by March, then we are going to form the government of national unity, as per the agreement is concerned.
All right. And before I let you go, you mentioned something very important, and this is disarming some of the people who are actually in the army. And it's not just them that are in the army that actually had this arms, weapons, guns. So how does the government, intend on getting down to the villages to be able to retrieve all these firearms from the people?
Yeah, there are, this is the process of the soldiers. But those who pick up arms and they are civilian for maybe protecting their wealth shall be disarmed too, so that everything is to be protected by the government.
How will government go about that?
The government has already formed some committees, including the governors of those particular areas that have got people who have got guns and they are not soldiers. So the disarmament process is already taking place, and a lot of weapons were collected. You know, during the war, South Sudan was full of a lot of weapons.
Right.
Yeah. So this is another process that will allow us also to bring in, because you cannot impose a rule of law to someone who have got the same monopoly
as you.
Mm-hmm. That is a different case. So the government is the only institution that has got a monopoly of power over the people. And then that one, we must make sure that we have fall into that track.
Okay.
Like people of Uganda here, you move overnight, unless if you get somebody to greet you. Yeah, and that is the meaning of peace.
Right, right. Many countries, especially in Africa now, and this should be the last question, we've gotten to this notion and this practice of giving ourselves targets to achieve something. For example, here in the country, this Vision 2020, but we're just a few years shy of that. So is South Sudan getting the same, just to give its targets, you know, itself targets on when we should be, you know, attain full peace, as to when we should be able to be sure that, you know, we've already disarmed every civilian? Are you giving yourselves targets?
The target is a priority.
It's a priority.
Yeah, the nearest priority. That has to be done. Like for our case now, ours is, the first target is the peace and reconciliation.
What's the target? Which
That
year?
is the target.
Which year?
Today.
Okay.
We must start today. That is the target.
Okay. But by which year will you be comfortable to say that now South Sudan is a peaceful state?
Well, peace is made by people.
Okay. So you've not yet said
you
that
don't
it's
give
in
a
10
period
years.
of time.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Peace is made by people.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much, Mr. David Amor, the spokesperson of the Republic of South Sudan, for coming in studios, and we wish you all the best as South Sudan's. Thank you so much. That has been it for Kickstarter. Keep your views coming. The hashtag is Morning at NTV. You can also stream us live and drop in your comments. NTV Uganda, that's on Facebook and YouTube pages. Up next is Flavia Tumusime with Take Note. Keep it here.
You're watching Morning at NTV.